Everyone, respected Dr. Aman Patel, Provost, Parul University, respected Dr. Abhay Dharamsi, Dean, Faculty of Pharmacy, Dr. J.S. Chakravarti, Principal of Parul Institute of Pharmacy and Research, Dr. Lalit Lattaja, Principal, School of Pharmacy, and Dr. Sriraj Lakshmi Deshraju, CEO and co-founder of Trifest Pharmaceutical Private Limited, a probiotic and R&D company, faculty members, and my dear students. On behalf of Faculty of Pharmacy, Parul University, I welcome you all in webinar series on women entrepreneurship and research, challenges and opportunity. Today's webinar series 2 on role of probiotics in health improvement, infection control, and disease treatment and management in association with the Women Development Cell of Parul University. So for this session, we have a very renowned guest with us, Dr. Sri Lakshmi Deshraju. So I warmly welcome you, ma'am, for the webinar. Okay. If any participant have any questions during this webinar, please type them into chat window. We will discuss it later during the question and answer session. Now I hand over Dr. Sri Raj Lakshmi, ma'am, to begin the session. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Manisha. It is absolute pleasure and privilege to be back here again with you all. Respected principal, respected dean, respected teachers, and my dear friends out there who are today sitting on a weekday to go through this webinar. Today's area of my chat is going to be mostly on probiotics and its application. As Manisha said, probiotics have loads of application, and we have enough of interest now in probiotics because, give me one second, because we see that probiotics have taken the center stage, and they have taken the center stage only for one reason, because of COVID, and we are all aware what immunity brings on table these days. So if you were lucky and you did not go through COVID, it is because of your immunity. And where did this immunity come from? This immunity came from this small set of bacteria which you can't even see. But at the same time, these bacteria play a very vital role in taking care of your health. And this health could be anywhere from starting from your gut to your skin, to your oral, to your brain also. And I'll come to you one by one on each of these organs, wherein we see a lot of application of these bacteria and how they actually affect or how they actually neutralize the bad bacteria. Because earlier when we used to say bacteria, the first thing which used to come in your mind is you. This is bad stuff. This is dirty stuff. Because, you know, the toothbrush ad and the toothpaste ad only gave you this much of thing that you have a bacteria coming in your mouth and you thought, okay, this is not what you wanted. But over the period, a lot of scientific knowledge, which we already as Indians had it earlier, has been proven scientifically and clinically that there are some good bacteria and there are some bad bacteria. So bad bacteria are those, in simple word, bad bacteria are those which will make you feel sick, and good bacteria are those which will actually help you to gain your health and your actually it helps everywhere. I mean, the more I read these days about probiotics, last 10 years has been my journey in probiotics, and since the time that I have been reading about probiotics, I realized that there is so much more than just gut health. And I still remember, can we go to the next slide, please? I still remember that my grandmother used to say, you are what you eat. Believe me, I never understood that. When I was growing up and she used to say, you are what you eat, I never could understand that part. Why? Because I was a vegetarian. I grew up in a family which was vegetarian. So I couldn't understand how does it matter what we eat and how does it affects us as a person. I always had this understanding for the longest time. In fact, up till the time that I started doing research we started doing research here in probiotics, until then I had this conviction that maybe because you eat non-veg, you are more aggression is there, because you eat foods that have high, you had this Ayurvedic thing, pitta, dosha, and all those things. So I always used to feel that with the fire part of the food actually increases that part, and that's why people are a little more different who consume non-veg. But it had nothing to do with that. And as going forward in the research that we are doing here, we realize how these bacteria play a major role on your body and also defining the person that you are. Can we go to the next slide, please? So I'll just take you through a small brief moment here. Next slide, please. So I'll just take you to the next small brief background wherein I can just show you how these bacteria have actually affect you, or what is it that called. A very common word, I know we will have the slide quickly, but meanwhile I'll just take you through the presentation. In these days, and you being pharmacy students or a pharmacy faculty, you must be hearing a lot that there is something called microbiome. All new words are coming up, but then we realize that what is this microbiome actually? What is it that this microbiome does actually? And why you call it as a microbiome? I am not sure if, Nikita, can you put the slides, please? She's there, but I don't see the slide. Is there any slide for your screen? Because I don't see anything here. Yeah. Thanks, Nikita. So if you count human cells in your bones, blood, skin, hair, brain, and every other organ, you will see roughly 30 trillion of them. But it is not that just you have human cells or you have these cells which are present, which are important. More than these cells, actually you have a home to 40 trillion bacterial cells. Now, are you telling that in a body of yours, which is 5x2 or 5x6 or 6 feet or 7 feet by whatever weight that you guys have, your body is made more of bacterial cells than actually your own cells, which are part of your organ? Well, that is true. So where are these bacterial cells staying is the second question which would come automatically to you. That, okay, you tell me that there are cells in the body which forms the organ, the tissue, the structure that we have, and you are telling me that there is actually more than that. You have bacterial cells in there. So where do these bacterial cells stay actually? So they can be in the skin. So on top of your skin, this moisturized skin is because of that. They can be in your lungs, they can be in your mouth, they can be in any nook and corner of your place. And this is, but the most important place, or the most, not important, the most preferred place is in your gut. And why gut? That is because it is the most, it provides a dark, a moist environment and less of oxygen, lots of nutrients, because your stomach would have digested everything and pushed it toward your gut. So it is the perfect place for microbes to develop themselves. So if you have to believe what I'm saying here, you have 3 trillion good bacteria which are sitting there. Out of this 40 trillion, there are good bacteria, bad bacteria, there are some useful bacteria, there is no good bacteria. So this is what it is, that total of these bacteria, the 40 trillion bacterial cells that you have, or total bacteria that are sitting there, is in general called as microbiota or microbiome. Now this can be divided into good bacteria, this can be divided into useless bacteria, this can be divided into many other forms. We will see as we go forward. How do you get this many bacteria? Second question might be, पहला तो ये होगा कि भाई तुमको लगा कहाँ, ये आया कैसे? But the second, it's okay, you can change the slide, Nikita. But the second question would be, how do you get these bacteria? From where do they come and how do you get it? Now I'll just take you a little back into your journey when you were born. When you were born with a sterile gut. There is nothing out there. Okay, just when you were born, that is the time through the birth canal, your mother would have given you, you know how to make dahi, or you know how to make uh, curd. So what do? You take a small batch, a small culture of curd, and you put to lukewarm milk, and everything turns into a dahi, right? Next day morning. और you keep it at a close करके उसको रखते हो आप कपड़ा डाल के, and then after few hours you see that especially in this temperature in May and June, so you can make it in 6 hours or 5 hours only, right? So this is exactly what happens. Your mother has given that chota sa culture when you were born. So mother's role is not just that she keeps in her stomach for 9 months, but she also, when she allows you to come out into the world, she also takes care that you are protected. So this small set of culture has been given to you, and through the mother's milk, when you have that, the first set of human HMOs, human milk oligosaccharides, goes inside. These bacteria, and from day one, the time you are born, after 2 hours, they are ask the mothers to feed the child. The reason is because these small bacteria, you are inside the womb, you are all in a sterile environment and you are protected beautifully. But as soon as you come out, even in the hospital, even the outside world, everything you are exposed to now, lots of bacteria and viruses, right? So generally kids, if you see, they get jaundice as soon as they are born. But what happens is that when your mom feeds you the first time, then that is when that milk has HMO, that is human milk oligosaccharides, which these bacteria eat upon, and they start to multiply. And these start to multiply in such a way that they start to become big. If you remember, or you must be seeing in your house, the first 6 months, your mother is not feeding you anything except milk, not even water. She just feeds you milk, and after each feeding, she burps you, right? She पीठ के ऊपर हाथ फैलाते हैं और she walks with you. Why? So that CO2 which is formed has to come out. What happens? These bacteria, they start digesting that milk, and in result releases the gas which needs to come out. Or easily half of the time your milk also comes out if you have fed too much or too little. The same thing if you see in these babies who are either C-section or colic children. For them, it is a huge problem of digesting the milk. Or these babies do not have that initial culture, so that's why they have a huge problem for 6 months or 1 year, or how little of those bacteria would have gone would define it. Now, in this whole process, if you see after 6 months, I'm very sure North में आप लोगों के अभी होता होगा, हमारे यहाँ एक फंक्शन होता है जिसमें बोलते हैं अन्नप्राशन. अन्नप्राशन में क्या करते हैं कि हम पहली बार बच्चे को we give them the different kinds of dal ka pani and rice and small items, not very huge, कुछ तला गला नहीं देते हैं, but छोटे छोटे items देते हैं, because we try to give this so that the next set of bacteria, initially there are only one set of bacteria which are introduced in your gut, and that are the bifidobacteria. And then when you go to the next level, you are introduced with the next set of bacteria. Those are the lactobacillus bacteria or streptococcus or other different kinds of bacteria. And after that, this in turn, and I'll tell you how it helps in building the immunity. But this actually helps you build immunity. आज कोरोना टाइम में when you are going out and saying मेरी immunity बहुत अच्छी है, मैंने बहुत काढ़ा पी के रखा है और मैंने I have done everything, I have taken now vaccination also, मेरी immunity अच्छी है, मुझे वायरस नहीं मार सकता. The reason for that is you should be thankful to your mother who has given you that initial seed bacteria, which over the years has now propagated, multiplied in your gut, which is the moist place, and has become trillions of them. So when a bad bacteria or a pathogen or a viral thing comes and hits you, what happens is this first line of defense jo aapka hai, that goes and fights these bacteria. There is actually a war there, wherein you have a good bacteria and where you have a bad or immunity which is there. This good bacteria helps that immune cells to find out which are bad bacteria and which are good bacteria. So gut bacteria or probiotics have a big role to play. It is still what we are learning right now scientifically also. It is just the tip of the iceberg. We have not really gone down below to understand कि what exactly, how many things this gut bacteria can do. इसलिए the term gut feeling was coined. If you remember, you say मेरा सिक्स सेंस कह रहा है कि ठीक नहीं है. My gut feeling is saying that I should not do. Why? Because gut is the only organ which is directly related with the brain. 1/100th of a nanosecond, you continuously there is an information going from your gut to the brain and brain to the gut. So these are so what is the point of these having these things? Why are they there? As I said, there are some things that we have already I have shared with you, but if you have to go in a very strategic and clean manner, well, it helps in digestion. So these good bacteria or gut bacteria help in digestion. What digestion? What is it that it is digesting? Next question. What I immediately. So what we do is we do not have fibers in our. We do not have digestive enzymes which will eat away fibers, because the food and the fruits and the stuff that we eat has lots of, or the whole grains that we eat has lot of fiber. आजकल आपने देखा है एक जनरल फैड है, व्हाट्सएप यूनिवर्सिटी कर लो या व्हाट्सएप से कर लो, एवरीबडी गिव्स यू अ ज्ञान कि नहीं खूब फाइबर खाया करो. अरे भाई क्यों खाया करो? Why is there a reason? Because fiber से कुछ मिलता तो नहीं है बॉडी को. The only thing it does is it forms a roughage which allows the excretion to happen naturally, and it doesn't have painful constipation होके नहीं होता है. इसके अलावा तो कुछ नहीं करता है फाइबर, अनलेस कुछ मेडिकल यूज के साथ है. तो जैसे मेथी से जो फाइबर निकलता है उससे डायबिटीज कम होता है, ओट्स से जो फाइबर निकलता है उससे ओमेगा निकलता है, इसलिए उसमें हार्ट हेल्थ है. और रेगुलर जो फूड में और फ्रूट्स में फाइबर है, दे डोंट हेल्प यू इन एनी वे एक्सेप्ट क्रिएटिंग अ पैसेज सो दैट योर एक्सक्रीशन कैन कम आउट. किडनी में हेल्प करता है, बट दैट इज नॉट ट्रू. दिस वाज अर्लियर अंडरस्टैंडिंग, बट दैट्स नॉट ट्रू. एक्चुअली दिस फाइबर इज ईटन बाय द बैक्टीरिया. तो वो जो बैक्टीरिया अंदर बैठे हैं, दे ऑल्सो नीड फूड. अब आप बर्गर खाओगे, पिज्जा खाओगे या फिर आप पेप्सी पियोगे, these bacteria don't get their food and they don't even know what to do with these burgers and pizzas, because these are all processed foods. They are not the natural foods. So in that terminology, more of your good bacteria get eliminated from your system. So these fibers are needed so that they become the food for those bacteria, and they have been termed as prebiotic. So there are good bacteria which are called as probiotic, and food that probiotic eats is called as prebiotic. These bacteria, these gut bacteria, they also make essential vitamins. As such, आपकी body नहीं बनाती है vitamins, but that is made by these bacteria. And it is the second or the third thing is, which is most important, is it helps in developing and training your immune system. Now, what do you mean by that? Your immune system knows कि यहाँ पर कुछ बैड बैक्टीरिया हैं जो आपकी बॉडी को परेशान करेंगे, और थोड़े जो बाकी जो है गुड बैक्टीरिया. तो ये एक बेसिकली गट बैक्टीरिया जो रहते हैं, ये कंटिन्यूसली इम्यून सेल के साथ बातें करते रहते हैं. They have signals which keeps going on there, and these signals are the ones which tell the immune cell कि भाई this is not good and this is good. So accept these because they are good bacteria. Let them come inside and let them reside into it. But do not accept this where you have where you are going to get ill or have problems, health problems. And the best example that you are seeing today, if you have to understand this, is the COVID problem. COVID तो बैक्टीरियल प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, एटलीस्ट अभी तक तो ये नहीं कहते हैं. दे से दैट इट इज अ वायरस. नाउ दिस वायरस से समझदार वायरस आई हैव नॉट सीन अप टिल नाउ. SARS था, HIV था, HCP था, all these viruses, they would get inside a host, they will kill that host, or they would get killed inside the host, and that was the end of it. This virus, the COVID-19 virus, is a very smart virus. This virus has an ability to actually क्लॉक इटसेल्फ डॉकिंग कर लेता है, जैसे अपन फोन को चार्जर लगाते हैं वैसे, और अनडॉकिंग भी कर लेता है इसको when it sees that there is a potential threat कि उसको मार देगी अगर इम्यून सेल्स, तो देन इट डीडॉक्स इटसेल्फ। हर पूरी आपकी बॉडी में, चाहे लंग से लेके नाक से लेके नीचे तक, आपकी इसमें एक चीज होती है कॉल्ड एस इनहिबिटर्स, और वो ऐसे ऐसे होते हैं जैसे आपका वो नहीं होता है पाना हो, तो ये जो होता है जिसे आप टायर खोलते हो, इट्स एग्जैक्टली इन दैट शेप। ओके, so in this shape this bacteria virus goes and docks itself inside this, and once it docks inside that, then it takes away the ATP and the energy and multiplies faster. If your immunity cells have been able to figure out, अब immunity cells को क्या होता है अंदर, उनको मालूम पड़ता है हाँ there is something wrong, there is something wrong, this gut bacteria are communicating with that immunity cells and telling you hey something is wrong, the body is not good, toxins are being given, just go and find out where it is. Now immunity cells जो है आगे पीछे they start going into your blood stream, बट ये वायरस जो है जाके ये डॉकिंग सिस्टम करके बैठ गया है यहाँ पर बीच में, एंड इट डजंट हैव स्पेस टू गो एनीवेयर. So now this, when they find this virus, they go and kill it. But the moment they find out, the virus finds out कि अच्छा ठीक है ये लोग मेरे को पहचान रहे हैं, their number is higher, my number is lower, it just goes out and it becomes a round thing and just sit quietly in your either throat or in your nasal passage, and it will sit there until your immunity is compromised. Once your immunity compromises, again it will come out. If your immunity is not compromised, while talking through the spit, it is going out and going to the next person. If that person's immunity is down, it goes and creates havoc. So these bacteria and viruses, they are not that simple कि दिखते नहीं हैं, उसी unicellular हैं. They create a lot of havoc, whatever be the way they want to do it. But there is lot of talking happening between these bacteria and viruses. So your gut cells, gut bacteria helps in training and developing your immune system, which allows your immune system to say, these are good fellows, let them come inside the body. These are bad fellows, let us go and kill them. They also influence the brain health. As I told you already, that is the only organ which is directly related to the brain. Apart from that, this thing actually, your gut is directly, physically, through millions of nerve fibers, it sends a message to the central nervous system, and that in turn goes and helps it. So when these celebrities come on the national TV and they say, I fought depression, believe me, guys, here, I mean, you all have one of them as your favorite actor and actresses. When they say that they fought depression, hearing that I get into depression. भाई दिखने में सुंदर हो, पैसा है, पूरी दुनिया तुम्हारे कदमों पर है, तुम्हारे जो चाहिए वो मिल सकता है, ये तुम्हें डिप्रेशन होने की चिंता क्यों है? Why do you get depressed? What is it that can make you depressed? I mean, whatever the normal person gets, you get over and above that, and still you say that I fought depression. So मेरे को ऐसा लगता है कि more and more, because इन लोगों के working times different रहते हैं, because इनके खाने पीने में वो zero figure रखने के चक्कर में इनके खाने पीने ठीक नहीं रहते हैं, because they get into all kinds of other abuse material in their life. इसके कारण से definitely इनके gut bacteria जो है deplete हो जाते हैं. Obviously that affects the serotonin uptake in your brain, which is responsible for your happiness or your mood and life event. तो ये सारी की सारी जितने भी हैं कहते हैं कि they want to do yoga and all those things. It is not for anything else, but it is for putting back their gut bacteria in a normal way. So if I have to take you through probiotics, these gut bacteria जिनके बारे में आपसे बात कर रही हूँ, so if I have to take you through probiotics is just a name given to this gut bacteria, which if taken in adequate quantity, it confers a health benefit on the host. This research, at least in India, has been known for generations and centuries. ठीक है ना, हमारे यहाँ दही खाना एक नॉर्मल चीज है, चाहे सुबह खाओ, चाहे रात को खाओ, चाहे चावल के साथ मिक्स करके खाओ, चाहे किसी और फॉर्म में खाओ, चाहे आम खाएं, which is the season these days, आपको घर में बोलते हैं कि 2 चम्मच दही खा लो, because this gut bacteria will take care of it. आप सोचते हो कि खाने में मसाला ज्यादा है इसलिए दही खाना है, nothing to do with that part. It is just that when the food goes down and enzymatically break होता है और वो अंदर जाता है, तो these gut bacteria help that nutrients to be given off. But it was in 1907 that actually Ali Metchnikoff was the first person who actually found out that there is something called good bacteria also. And in 1950, Japan produced the first fermented milk for commercial use. So आज भी हमारे यहाँ सिर्फ एक ही product है, that is Yakult. Can we go to the next slide, please? Yakult. But then more and more now people are coming and understanding the benefits of this gut bacteria, which are both bacteria as well as yeast. And I'll tell you what is the difference and why you should have yeast when you have to have, and why you should have bacteria when you have to have. So this just gives you a general feeling कि कौन से good bacteria है और कौन से bad bacteria है, and such 500 species are sitting in your body. So what happens is जैसे जैसे आपका good bacteria high रहता है, that means आपके infection, inflammation, problems with your health are all under control. जैसे आपका if you see that your bad bacteria ज़्यादा बढ़ जाते हैं, so obviously you are sick, you get fever. Fever is just a symptom of that. So you get fever, you get all the kinds of other bloating and stomach ache and whatnot. एक्चुअली करते क्या है, हाउ डज, हम लोग साइंस के स्टूडेंट्स हैं, वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट एग्जैक्टली दे डू, हाउ डू दे सर्वाइव दिस. These are nothing but these intestinal microbiota or the probiotics. They kill the bad bacteria. Pathogens जो हैं उनको kill करते हैं either by producing lactic acid or H2O2, or they produce antimicrobial peptide which is called as bacteriocin. When we go further, we will deal with them. And it obviously these probiotics, as I said to you, the gut bacteria, it helps maintain intestinal flora. It is adjusting the immune response. We just saw, and based on that, you have allergic symptoms का reduce होता है. It prevents diarrheal symptoms, which is the easiest. Bacterial contamination, pathogens which comes through waterborne disease is the easiest one. And it also has, because it is in the gut, so obviously we have seen that there are positive effects reported in GI cancer and in bladder. There is a whole bunch of things that we do in probiotics. Not that only GI area is important, but yes, GI area is the most popular one. Can be okay. So if I have to say, you would say okay fine, आप कह रहे हो कुछ probiotics होते हैं, कुछ bacteria होते हैं, इनके नाम वाम भी हैं या नहीं. So the most popular one which is there in your body, as a child, as a baby, as an infant, you will have only bifidobacteria with you. Okay, because that's all you can get from your mother, and that is when you have only those ones. But as you grow into an adult and as you grow into a person and define yourself, you also have different lactobacilli species and strepto species and other species also. But most important is lactobacilli and bifido are the most natural ones. Another area which is very, very important and very, very interesting to read is the probiotic yeast. इसका mechanism of action ही अलग है. But बाकी this big yeast is double walled. So because it is double walled and it's able to actually give endotoxins, clear endotoxins, that is where we are able to use Saccharomyces boulardii. That is one species that is used. Can we go to the next slide, please? So in probiotics का application है कहाँ पर? So it is used in last meeting which I had with you guys, where I had spoken about technology commercialization. Most of its application was in the food, beverage. If you remember, we made we had this temperature stable bacteria, so that went into confectionery, that went into bakery, that went into the caps, that went for beverages, and there are so many other areas that we spoke about, including animal nutrition. So the applications are in pharma, depending upon what clinical efficacy it shows. Then food and beverages, it is just a natural way of supplementing it back. आपने कभी सोचा है कि why suddenly this probiotic has become so much important? Why suddenly everybody is talking about these probiotics? The reason is, as I told you, that you were born with a sterile gut. Your mother gave bifido species. From the foods, you were getting foods, fruits, vegetables, all those things in natural way. You were getting lactobacilli species or the strepto species or the other species. The food that you are, so what has happened from then to now? The food that you are eating now is because of the fertilizers, because of the insecticides, pesticides, and all the other things. The water table, or the agriculture land has depleted of all the good nutrients, and so now the food is actually 40% less nutritional than what it used to be earlier. In absence of that nutrition and in absence of those bacteria, we have to actually put it back into your system. You eat pizza, you eat a burger, you eat fries, and you eat a glass of, yeah, one glass of Coke. You kill 10 to 12% of your good bacteria in your system. You have one bout of and I don't know, I mean, the younger generation cannot relate to it, but at least generation of my times, or the professors who are here can relate to it, that when you take suppose you ended up having an infection, and if you take antibiotic, 7 दिन का या 5 दिन का तो एंटीबायोटिक डोज रहता है, और उसके बाद 7 दिन लगते हैं हमको नॉर्मल होने के लिए, क्योंकि पेट खराब हो जाता है. सो एंटीबायोटिक एसोसिएटेड डायरिया जो है वो एक बड़ा प्रॉब्लम हो गया, and that's why you need to actually put this probiotics back into the system so that your body can act normally and can perform its duties. So application of probiotics has been in pharma, in food and beverages, in animal nutrition. Now this is something which is very, very interesting. Even country like Bangladesh has told that you cannot use antibiotic anymore for poultry or pigs or any of those livestock animals. So for such, or aqua. So for such things, you need something. No, infections to gaye nahi hai, neither viruses have gone off. So for preventing this livestock and poultry and animals and other things which are your business, then you need to add to them. If you cannot add antibiotic and there is no basic immunity which has developed in that animal, then obviously you are going to you have to add probiotics. So there's more and more popularized. Actually India में it is not even funny, but लोग दही खाते हैं इसलिए उनको लगता है सब प्रोबायोटिक्स मिल गए. दही में कुछ नहीं मिलता है एक्सेप्ट वन लैक्टोबैसिलस स्पीसीज एंड वन स्ट्रेप्टोकोकस थर्मोफिलस. थर्मोफिलस से वो दही कडल होती है, मतलब दूध कडल होकर दही बन जाता है. But other than that, you don't really get anything. But it's very popular in animal nutrition industry that I see, and we get a lot of queries from animal nutrition industries that what is the probiotic that we can add. Same thing in agriculture. Like right now, I told you that there are so many of these lands which have been depleted. So you need it in agriculture also, some of these good bacteria for nitrogen fixation, for all the other minerals fixing. Can we go to the next slide, please? Can you just keep clicking? Okay, so the first is the gut function. As I said, there are therapeutic areas and probiotics. That is what today actually seminar was supposed to be. Which are the areas that you do? Gut is the most popular. बहुत पॉपुलर है क्योंकि सारे प्रोबायोटिक जाके वहीं पर रहते हैं. तो गट इज द मोस्ट पॉपुलर वेर यू गेट इनटू गट डायरिया. अगर सी डेफिसिल का डायरिया होता है, दैट इज क्लॉस्ट्रिडियम डेफिसिल से इंड्यूस्ड डायरिया होता है, तो obviously these probiotics they get into we can use the probiotics to treat it. Then we have these IBS symptoms. If you remember, there was a movie called Piku. I'm not sure if you guys remember, but it was Amitabh Bachchan and
yes,
there was a lady, another lady, Deepika Padukone. So वो Piku movie में एक था कि that the old man is always having a constipation problem, and that is nothing but irritable bowel syndrome, and so that also can be cured. And we have a very good product here in India called BSL-3, and that helps actually to get it through it. Generally, the geriatric population goes through it. Even nowadays, smaller children, younger children, as young as age 5 also are going through a IBS problem. Then we have inflammatory bowel syndrome. That also is something that you. सबसे easiest और most important रहता है antibiotic associated diarrhea. If you had antibiotic, obviously when the antibiotic course is over, you would get into loose motions. Or traveler's diarrhea. There are two people who are not able to travel. Even if they go in the car, they tend to throw out because the smell of the petrol or diesel that irritates their system and they throw out. Obviously, once you throw out, your electrolyte balance is disturbed, and at that time to recover it takes longer time. थक जाते हैं वो लोग क्योंकि water का dehydration होने लगता है. So for such things also we can use probiotics. I have some examples where we have used these things, and those products are there in the market. I cannot take everything because obviously I don't have so much of time, but whatever time I have put in few slides to show you which are these products. Then you take it in the oral care. Oral care, mein, the whole mouth is full of good bacteria here. And I have some real good product where we have done our own clinical trials to show how these probiotics are killing the bacteria which are problematic in oral. Then they help in the respiratory infection. They help in skin microbiology, that is through inflammation. They help in allergies. They help in metabolic syndrome, that is obesity and diabetes. This was recently, very recently, actually last week, I think so. I read a paper where they have found out a bacteria which allows you to increase your metabolism. So obese people, I'm not telling you that if you are a normal people to become size 0. No, 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 no. I'm asking you to please go and do exercises and become size 0. But the people who are obese, and especially in North America, if you go, you will see a lot of these people who are abnormally fat. And that has nothing to do with their eating. Of course, eating habits also be a part of it, but they are abnormally fat. And such people, for them, there are bacteria which are probiotics. These are the good bacteria which are there, which help them to reduce their obesity and which help their metabolism to be faster. Same thing, another one, which is in the vaginal infection. This is for the women health, that we have a product here, which is very, very important because these women, once they get into it, and they have a recurring problem every single month. And this, once it starts, it becomes very difficult for them to function normally. And I have some clinical trials to show you how we were able to reduce these bacteria, these bad bacteria. So one such example we have is ProBioSac. The ProBioSac has nothing but Saccharomyces boulardii, which is actually a yeast. It is not a probiotic bacteria, but it is a yeast. And this reduces diarrhea associated with antibiotics also, travelers also, infants diarrhea, baby ko bahut jaldi hota hai, because waterborne diseases are very common in babies once they start having it. And generally the bad bacteria here is the Clostridium difficile. Can we go to the next slide? This is generally taken orally, and when you take it orally, you will be able to see that you don't. So if you had a Clostridium difficile problem and diarrhea, डॉक्टर जब तुमको कहता है कि जाके तुम एक एंटीबायोटिक ले लो ताकि तुम्हारा ये इन्फेक्शन खत्म हो जाएगा, I would, and especially for babies, I would suggest a total no, 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 because you are now exposing that child to not only get used to antibiotic, but also deplete of whatever left of good bacteria is there in your system, whether baby or adult also, it's the same. So instead we have done this clinical trials which suggest that the the Saccharomyces boulardii actually reduces the toxin from pathogen in less than 7 hours. So instead of giving a antibiotic, we actually used to teach doctors when we started initially that please do not allow, because continuous use of antibiotic creates another problem that is called AMR, that is antibiotic microbial resistance. And if you got into that, now you see, and again I'll go back to older generation versus newer generation. Earlier we used to get ampicillin or amoxicillin for 250 milligrams. Now they give you 1 gram a day. मतलब जानवरों को भी नहीं खिलाते ऐसे, that is how they have to. But it's not the mistake of the doctor. It is just that our system has become resistant to all these things. So these pathogens, when they are coming and attacking our system, they are actually much more stronger. So obviously तुमको यहाँ पर उसका ज़्यादा amount देना पड़ता है so that they can kill the bacteria. This yeast probiotic versus bacterial probiotic. Now, this is a most humorous thing that I have seen here in the doctor fraternity. And you being from pharmacies, you should actually see it, that hopefully going forward you will be able to tell the doctors. Doctor आपको लिख के देता है antibiotic खाइए आप. Along with it comes a probiotic which has bacteria. Now, please tell me, how is that antibiotic going to figure out whether to kill the good bacteria or the bad bacteria? I have never understood this. when the doctors do this. And that's why there is a reason that yeast probiotic is to be given, to be recommended rather than the bacterial probiotic. Now, why yeast probiotic? What is the difference between the bacterial probiotic or a yeast probiotic? The bacterial probiotic has a porous wall, ऐसे छोटा 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 छेद होता है जिसके कारण से अंदर जो है वो तोड़ देते हैं उसके. बट द yeast probiotic, the antibiotic when it is given, तो वो उसको तोड़ देता है, इसलिए कोई फायदा ही नहीं है. When they give you these products to eat along with antibiotic, it's actually आप लोग सिर्फ वो ले रहे हो, पैसे देते हो, ले रहे हो, खा रहे हो, और वो प्रोबायोटिक जो है वो मर जाता है. तो अंदर जो डेब्रिस रहता है बैक्टीरिया का, अगर वो कुछ भला कर दे आपके लिए तो ठीक है, वरना तो आप बेसिकली फालतू मुफ्त में आप उनको पैसे दे के आ रहे हो. बट इस प्रोबायोटिक में क्या होता है कि इट हैज अ डबल सेल वॉल एंड एंटीबायोटिक से ईस्ट नहीं मरते हैं. तो इस कारण से दैट इज द रीजन दैट यू आर एबल टू ईट विद एन ईस्ट प्रोबायोटिक, यू कैन सी सम relief rather than bacterial probiotic. So Saccharomyces boulardii is one such yeast probiotic where it can work at lower pH. Stomach में pH जो होता है वो 2.5 से 3.5 के बीच में रहता है, तो you can work in there. Resistance to antibiotics रहता है. Obviously it reaches the colon on an active site. Safety इसकी जो है, it has been proven that it is safe to eat and no problem right from 2 months of age to up. And one such example I'll tell you. We had this probiotics were here and हम लोग यहाँ पर promote करते हैं doctors को. I had this incident which kind of tells me that every morning why I should work in this company or why I should work in the area that I'm working. So डॉक्टर का फोन आता है रात को 1 बजे, मैडम आपके पास क्या क्लिनिकल ट्रायल्स है, एक इन्फेंट है, उसका डायरिया रुक नहीं रहा है, जिस समय से पैदा हुई है वो लड़की कंटिन्यूसली डायरियल स्टेट में है. So I said, doctor, we don't do infants के ऊपर, we are not allowed by ICMR to do any trials. अभी थोड़ी देर पहले आपको मैंने clinical trial दिखाया था. And I said, we cannot do these trials at all on infants. She says, but I cannot give her because that child has a hole in the heart or whatever. Or there is some complication was there with that child. I still don't remember. This was in 2013 that we had this incident. I said, madam, I have not given, but probiotics खराब तो नहीं करेगा कुछ भी. If you want. This child was hardly 8 hours born or 9 hours born, something like that. Next day, and she says, okay, whatever clinical trials you have, you please set it off to me. I gave it to her. She looked at those trials and what she was supposed to do at night, 2 o'clock, I had no clue. After next day at 2:30, she called me in the afternoon to tell me, okay, madam, I just wanted to let you know whatever work you are doing, please keep continuing doing that. And I said, what did I do? What happened? How is the child? And she said, the child survived. So it was a last resort. I believe she used जो कि infants पे करना नहीं है, but she used it and I believe she survived. That was the first day I thought, I had this feeling that whatever, wherever, however difficult it is to run a company, छोटी company जब रहती है as a SME, still this one incident pushes me even on a bad day or a good day to do my best, and I keep going on doing the thing. So this was one of the advantages of yeast probiotic. The next one is Lactovag, and that is the bacterial vaginosis. As I said, we have vaginal infections and women go through a lot of problems. In this, actually, what happens is, and it's so very funny when we went to see the clinical efficacy of this particular one. Can we change the slide, please? When we see that we had combinations of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7 bacteria actually. And this combination of 7 bacteria was designed in such a way that when actually this bacterial vaginosis, when it happens, what happens is in the vagina, the villi are there, just like your fingers, their villi are there. So there are three points on which this bad bacteria are there. एक बैक्टीरिया जो रहता है वो ये जो अंदर बैठा हुआ जगह है वहां जाके वो बैठ जाता है. Okay, so this bad bacteria, a pathogen goes and sits there and alters the pH of the vaginal area, and that allows the second bacteria to come and sit somewhere in the between. And then there is the third bacteria or bad bacteria, pathogen, not bacteria, these are pathogen, which sits on the top of the villi, and they start giving all the symptoms, which is itching and smelly or odor and whatnot. The women go through really tough times during these days. Now, how much ever antibiotic you give, what happens? The ones which are sitting on the top, they are killed. The ones which are little deep seated in between the areas of the villi, they also get killed. But जो deep seated है अंदर, जो actually are the reasons because of which the pH changes, those don't get killed. वो डॉर्मेंट स्टेट में चले जाते हैं. जैसे ही थोड़ी बॉडी, जैसे ही एंटीबायोटिक का वीन ऑफ हो गया उनका, आपको मालूम ही है, आई डोंट हैव टू टीच यू, आप लोग फार्मेसी से हैं जहाँ पर हर एक का हाफ लाइफ पीरियड होता है, राइट. सो जैसे वो वीन ऑफ हो गया, जैसे निकल गया सारा एंटीबायोटिक, again this thing which is sitting inside the villi, it starts to propagate, it starts to increase, and these are all those bad bacteria or pathogens, and it starts changing the acidic environment. So month on month women actually go through this painful stage, and that is when we did the clinical trials with the combination of these bacteria, we found out that one, it kills the topmost bacteria which is giving the infection. So पहले 5 दिन आपको खाते रहना है ये this medicine. There is nothing, no change which will happen because you are populating back those good bacteria there. सेकेंड स्टेज वो बीच वाले जो इन सीटू रहते हैं, बीच के इसमें फंसे हुए रहते हैं, वो मर जाते हैं. And the best which happens is that these bacteria, this good bacteria, probiotics, they go and eliminate the ones which are sitting really down, which are the reason for changing the pH. So those, when they get eliminated and those seeds are taken away by the good bacteria, then you see that the next month the woman doesn't get any of those symptoms because pH change ही नहीं होता है. So once the pH doesn't change, they see that positively all the symptoms जो उनके रहते हैं, they start to. So it actually restores all the vaginal flora. It produces lactic acid and bacteriocins which kill all these bacteria. It reduces itching. It reduces smell, odor, and it gets back into you. And not just that, these bacteria keep propagating, so that over the period people don't get it again back. So it is not just reducing the problem of bacterial vaginosis, actually it doesn't allow bacterial vaginosis to come back again. And one such product that after 3 years also or 4 years also, we find gynecologists telling us that very good, nice product it is, that doesn't allow their patients to suffer anymore. And we go to the next slide, please. So obviously this is the only first oral supplement, so that becomes a very easy one. Small bottle पर्स में भी चली जाती है, and just like any other tablet, you are taking it twice a day. So women are feeling much more easy rather than any of the other options that are available in the market. And इफेक्टिवनेस इसका ज़्यादा रहता है, मेंस्ट्रुअल साइकिल के वक्त भी प्रॉब्लम नहीं आता है, एंड आई कैन बी एडजस्टेड टू प्रेग्नेंट वुमेन आल्सो, because probiotics generally are do not cause any of the side reactions, but that is not so true everywhere. It depends again on the genetic makeup, it depends on many factors, but generally probiotics are considered to be safe. Can we go to the next slide, please? So there are lots and lots of areas that I would like to bring to your notice. अब एक एक का तो मैं आपको बायोसिंथेटिक पाथवे नहीं बता सकती, कुछ का मैंने दिया था जो बता दिया, but definitely we use the role of probiotics in health improvement and disease treatment काफ़ी है. That is antibiotic का ये है, जीरियाटिक पॉपुलेशन जो है जिनको गैस्ट्रो प्रॉब्लम्स है उनके लिए बहुत यूजफुल है. Then vaginal infection के लिए, UTI, that is another big problem with both male and female subjects. Lactose intolerance होता है, तो आजकल दूध और दूध के products नहीं बचा पाते हैं. It also, there are all, this whole thing is which strains are doing what disease and what are the clinical trials. जो references है वो सारे clinical trials हैं. And they help in prevention of colon cancer, they help in H. pylori infection, they help in acne and skin infections, and they help in lots of waterborne issues जो रहते हैं उसमें help करते हैं. Can we go to the next slide? So this is where I would like to conclude because I want to take some questions. I'm hoping that I have really initiated some kind of thought process here as to what probiotics are doing and what probiotics bring on table, and how probiotics have taken a center stage, because it's not just about your digestion, but it's about your total well-being, it's about your mental health, it's about you as a person. It shapes you. So that's why now I understand what my nani used to say, you are what you eat, is how probiotics or these good gut bacteria actually shape you in such a manner. Because if your gut is good, सिंपल सा है, ज्यादा कुछ उसमें सोचने जैसा नहीं है, बट आप ही सोचिए, अगर कॉन्स्टिपेशन है या आपको लूज मोशन है, दोनों चीजें अगर है, दोनों में से कोई भी चीज है और नॉर्मल नहीं है, तो आपका दिमाग चलना बंद हो जाता है. तो इट इज एज सिंपल एज व्हाट गट बैक्टीरिया आर डूइंग टू यू. They definitely, the main thing which they do is they compete with the bad microbes and colonize our digestive system to improve our digestion, to improve our immunity, to improve our heart health, to improve our this one to improve our mental health. They are able to ferment our food to simpler byproducts which could promote health by many different mechanisms. कुछ mechanisms हमने देखी हैं. Their amount could be even with the incorrect diet, alcohol. Forget about alcohol and incorrect diet. Simple Pepsi पी लो तो 10% बैक्टीरिया चले जाते हैं, क्योंकि उसमें इतना phosphoric acid होता है कि that kills your bacteria. So that's why they should be taken. So this promote health by at the end I would like to conclude it that probiotics, they promote health by removing the side effect of the pathogens or harmful microbes. They supply the body with useful byproducts. They reduce the job of our digestive system. They reduce the effect of harmful compounds, which toxins which are built up in your body due to pollution, due to free radicals which actually initiate cancer cells, or due to your eating habits, due to your smoking or any of the other vices. And there is something called biofilm, which also is formed inside the body sometimes. So and that is very difficult to take off. So they help you reducing that part. In some cases, they could complement with deficiency in our genetic material by helping borrow the products from the genes. Actually, a lot of clinical trials are being done these days, and actually for even corona, in some population, Korean population, they have found out. But again, the same thing, that each population has different genetic makeup एंड गट मेकअप. हमारे पेट में जो बैक्टीरियाज हैं वो एक नॉर्थ अमेरिकन पॉपुलेशन में नहीं है, वो जो उनके पास है वो अफ्रीकन में नहीं है, जो अफ्रीकन में है वो ओरिएंटल में नहीं है. तो these gut bacteria are also as different as our genetic material, and that's why at times that these gut bacteria, what works for me here might not work for an American, might not work for a Australian. And very good example I can tell you, because we researched a lot in the Lactovac product, and we saw that ये जो 8 या 9 बैक्टीरिया हम यूज करके वी हैव एक्चुअली पुट टुगेदर अ मैकेनिज्म हाउ वी आर रिड्यूसिंग इट. इट डजंट वर्क इन एन अमेरिकन लेडीज हेल्थ. So because they don't have this, we have 7 bacteria, they have only 2 bacteria. One is Lactobacillus crispus and the other one is Imus. These are their makeup is only of these 2 bacteria. So इतने सारे ये 10 बैक्टीरिया हम लेके भी जाए तो कुछ नहीं काम के होते हैं. So each of these body, all I'm trying to say is each of these body, as different as we are on genetic material, they are also different on the gut material, and that gut material defines what you are. Thank you. Next slide. I think this is the last one. Yeah. Thank you so much. It's absolute pleasure to be here again to share the webinar and to share our areas of probiotics with you. And I'll be more than happy if there are any questions that I can answer.
Thank you so much, madam, for giving the valuable insights on the role of probiotic in health improvement, infection control, and disease treatment and the management. You can, by giving the actual examples, explanation, it's really very fruitful for all of us, and it's also provide the knowledge about the probiotic as well as the awareness of the probiotic, and we can insist our students for going for research by to know about this topic. Okay. So thank you so much, madam. If any participant has any questions or query regarding this, can ask or write down in the chat box.
Hello, madam. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, madam, for covering all the aspects for the use of probiotics in product. Can you please guide us as a customer who are buying the product, probiotic product from the market? What type of things they have to be careful while purchasing such product? Because the issue of stability, as you told in last lecture. So how we can ensure that the product is okay and we can purchase?
See, if you go to Amazon, there are hundreds of products there nowadays. A lot of people are preferring to buy probiotic. As long as you have lactobacilli species, it is Acidophilus, Plantarum, Rhamnosus, Rutri, Crespatus, not Crespatus, sorry, Cassie and Paracassi. So these are some of the very common ones which we are there in each of the Indian flora. तो हर एक इंडियन के फ्लोरा में क्योंकि हमारे केस में क्या होता है कि हमारा फ्लोरा बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग है. We are not like the other Western worlds. Our flora is very strong. So as long as you find these kind of names on that product, FDA recommends that you should be able to take 1 billion to 5 billion. 1 billion से लेके 5 billion तक you rest assured you can eat every single thing. That will populate this gut bacteria to be से. तो 5 billion अगर लोगे तो कम से कम 1 billion तो अंदर जाएगा. And like you, if you have gone through my last lecture, then those things they give 60 billion or 80 billion or 100 billion. तो उसमें से even if the shelf life नहीं भी है तो भी at least 1 to 5 billion तो पक्का पहुंच जाएगा आपके स्टमक. So as long as our products come into the market, yes, we would be very happy if we can bring it as early as possible. But यहाँ पर even the medical fraternity is not very aware of probiotic and its clinical use. इस कारण से बहुत ज़्यादा हम यहाँ लॉन्च नहीं कर पाते हैं. जनरली हमारे सारे प्रोडक्ट्स बाहर जाते हैं. काफ़ी इन्वेस्ट किया है कंपनी में तो पैसा कमाना जरूरी है इसलिए. बट बाकी दैट बीइंग सेड, yes, going forward we will have some products which have longer shelf life, longer stability. और आपकी मैडम ने एक बहुत अच्छी बात बताई थी, लता मैडम ने, कि शी हैज वर्कड ऑन समथिंग व्हिच इज कॉल्ड एंट्रिक कोटिंग on the probiotics. So there are some probiotics which are coming with enteric coating, and if you have enteric coating, at least shelf life unki 6 months to 1 year hai. So they are not something that you should be worried about. So if you find that, but always see when you find this combination formulation jab aap kharidte ho, always see that there should be one prebiotic along with it. And which are the most popular prebiotic? वो FOS है, fructose oligosaccharide, या फिर आपको मिलेगा lactose. ठीक है. So these are some of the oligosaccharides that you know. FOS, GOS, galacto oligosaccharides, FOS, GOS, MOS, maltose उसमें है, और एक और मैनोस, सॉरी, और एक और है जो बहुत पॉपुलर है, पर लैक्टोज डेफिनेटली रहता है, नहीं तो फॉस रहता है जनरली. सो इफ यू फाइंड दैट इन अ फॉर्मुलेशन वर्सेस एक और आपको ब्रांड मिल रहा है which doesn't have a prebiotic, I prefer to take that probiotic prebiotic का combination, because those two together it doesn't become 1 + 1 2, it actually helps you 1 + 1 = 11. बिकॉज यहाँ पर उसको खाना मिल गया, यहाँ पर उसको अंदर जाने को और अच्छा एनवायरनमेंट मिल गया, एक डार्क प्लेस मिल गई, अच्छा एनवायरनमेंट मिल गया बड़े होने के लिए, वो चीज जो है डुप्लीकेट चलती है. That helps you to take it. But enteric coated are also good. You have some good products.
So in that combination, we can say synergistic action would be there.
Yes. Symbiotic effect बोलते हैं उसको. So if it works with each other in that manner, that prebiotic, सही अच्छी चीज है, सिंपल चीज है, खाना भी मिल रहा है, रहने को भी मिल रहा है, कौन नहीं रहेगा, अच्छी रहेगी.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Any question?
Madam, I have one more question.
Yeah, sure, sir.
Yes.
So, madam, actually, what is the correct time to administer probiotics once we have antibiotic therapy?
आप हाँ, तो अगर आपका एंटीबायोटिक थेरेपी चल रहा है तो 3rd day ऑनवर्ड, व्हेन यू फिनिश द एंटीबायोटिक थेरेपी, इफ दे हैव गिवन यू अ बैक्टीरियल प्रोबायोटिक, वैसे तो देना नहीं चाहिए, they should give you a yeast probiotic. And very आपके area में at least this particular product is available, I know for sure, Baroda में, which is called Econorm, ECONORM. ये डॉक्टर रेड्डीज का है, and the same Saccharomyces boulardii है. तो वो Econorm जो है, that you should start only once you finish the antibiotic therapy. That you should start, along with that also you can start. पर अगर उन्होंने आपको Econorm नहीं दिया और कोई bacterial probiotic दिया है, so please do not start anything after you have finished your antibiotic therapy. Please wait for 2 days and the third day you start. क्योंकि आपके जो है प्रोबायोटिक, आप बैक्टीरियल प्रोबायोटिक खा भी रहे हो ना, वो एंटीबायोटिक मार देने हैं.
That's why I asked you, madam. Actually, I have seen in the market that the companies they have launched, even good companies, big companies, they have launched amoxicillin plus lactic acid bacillin.
It is a
in the name amoxicillin LB. So
it is actually total crap unless they have done some enteric, but even if you do enteric coating, still antibiotic is too strong for any of these things to sustain.
yes,
So it's better to either take a yeast probiotic that allows you to help, that helps you, but if not, at least if you have to take a bacterial probiotic, because कुछ लोगों को yeast का वो रहता है, allergies रहते हैं. So if that is the case, then please take this after 2 days. You finish the course and then you start taking it. So by that time, your antibiotic is coming out of your system, and then this probiotics actually can go and do something there.
thank you. And I have got one more question. And
Sure.
last webinar also, madam, I had a question where that how you were able to produce this platform technology to make the bacteria thermostable, and you told me that you are doing certain procedures which are upregulating those genes in the bacteria which produces heat shock proteins.
Yes.
And they are preventing the bacteria from the heat. So,
Correct.
ma'am, can we isolate these heat shock proteins? And
Yes.
suppose if we isolate these heat shock proteins from the bacteria, can we use these proteins for the stability of the other biotechnological products also, like vaccines or other proteins?
I mean, it's a little far-fetched idea. I haven't done anything in that area, but definitely vaccines are required. We do work in heat shock, heat stable proteins. So we do work. But more than that, I have seen once these bacteria become stable, we isolate something called bacteriocells that are the antimicrobial peptides. So those are the same kind of things what you are saying. हमने ये देखा है कि जब हमने बैक्टीरियोसिन्स को आइसोलेट किया है, वी हैव सीन एक्टिविटी मच बेटर एंड इट इज एबल टू किल MRSA, जैसे
Methicillin resistance.
हाँ, मल्टी स्ट्रेन्स से जो मिथिलिन रेजिस्टेंट रहते हैं ये स्ट्रेप्टो वाले, we have been able to see that they have been able to reduce with a good MIC. So, you know, there is a lot of work that is happening here at Triphase where we are able to isolate these proteins, and believe it, these proteins are actually autoclavable.
Yes.
So, उतना ज़्यादा stability है, वो denature नहीं होता.
Ma'am, are they very costly?
No, yes, isolation is difficult. बहुत कम मिलता है हमको. So, in 10 liters we get hardly 1 gram or half a gram. But that is where we have seen. But these natural वाले जो हमारे probiotics में से जो निकल रहे हैं प्रोटीन, उनका infectious disease में we have found a real big application.
Ma'am, can we get some in minimum quantity these proteins so that we can work upon the other biotechnological products also, or we can collaboratively work upon?
Actually, collaboration is something we definitely look for with academic families, because academic institution के collaboration करने में हमारा भी अपना interest रहता है. Everything, and I was telling to Lalit Datta madam that everything we cannot do in-house, so we do need collaborators from academic world. So yes, we can talk about it maybe after these seminars. Someday we can just get on a Zoom and we can talk about it. We can write some collaborative projects to DST, DPT, ICMR and different agencies. They have some grants called SIBRI, SIBRI. अगर आप DST पे या गूगल में ही आप डाल दो SIBRI grant, SIBRI grant और BIPT grant. So ये grants आप नोट कर लो और आप देखो तो उसमें हम लोग definitely
Because India we have got very poor logistic, madam. So there is a very good scope for all those proteins like vaccines and other biotechnological products also.
Absolutely right, absolutely right. So it
So
would be
अगर वो काम मतलब बड़ा हो सकता है, madam, if you support us.
no, it is equally interest to me. बिकॉज एज आई सेड सर, हम लोग सारी चीजें यहाँ पर ग्राउंड जीरो से नहीं कर सकते, C4 कार्बन से तो शुरू नहीं कर सकते, क्योंकि कंपनी चलानी है, राइट। यहाँ पर वी हैव टू रन द कंपनी, वी हैव टू मेक द प्रोडक्ट्स, हमको वहाँ सेल करने के लिए मार्केटिंग का पैसा चाहिए, तो वी हैव आवर ओन लिमिटेशंस ऑफ डूइंग रिसर्च एट ग्राउंड लेवल, लिटरली फ्रॉम जीरो ग्राउंड लेवल। तो वी आर ऑल्सो इंटरेस्टेड इक्वली टू हैव कोलैबोरेशन विद पीपल who are willing to take it. आप एक लेवल तक ले आओ, उसको कमर्शलाइजेशन के लिए हम ले जाते हैं, we can share the royalties, we can share the patents.
Do these proteins also provide freeze stability apart from the heat stability?
No.
Can they provide?
Once they become heat stable, they cannot go back.
Okay.
They don't go back. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि बैक्टीरिया 10 साल जो है वो तो हीट स्टेबल था और 11वें साल वो जो वापस अपना चला गया फिर से या मर गया, ऐसा नहीं है। So what happens is either basically इसमें भी प्रोटीन्स में भी either बीटा शीट रहते हैं या हेलिक्स रहता है। अगर आपको प्रोटीन केमिस्ट्री, पेप्टाइड केमिस्ट्री या प्रोटीन केमिस्ट्री आपने देखा हो, तो वंस दे टर्न देमसेल्व्स इनटू बीटा शीट और व्हिचएवर फॉर्म दे टर्न इनटू, आई मीन हर स्पीसीज में अलग होता है, सेम जीनस है लैक्टोबैसिलस पर हर एक स्पीसीज में अलग अलग होता है। तो वंस दे टेक दैट पर्टिकुलर फॉर्म, वो मतलब वापस उसमें पुराने इसमें नहीं जाते, दे कंटिन्यू टू स्टे इन दैट स्टेट ओनली। Even after 10 years, we have taken a batch and we have made, we had exposed them to 240 degrees centigrade and while making the bread out of it, and we find the same level of bacteria after making the bread, what we found 10 years back. So it doesn't change.
Are certain other kinds of the protein they may release during the freezing temperatures also, just like in the heat they are releasing some sort of proteins? So in freezing conditions also are they releasing some proteins? Is there any publication about this?
Yes, they do release. You are, see, whether you say that you are exposing them to a stressful condition, whether it is heat or whether it is minus. So हम लोग जब vials लेके आते हैं तो -80 में लेके आते हैं, right? So that is also another extreme. It is not supposed to be in that extreme. Basically हम vials लेके आते हैं जो -80 में आता है, and then we use it in and we thaw it and we take the vial and we create out of it. So when you go to this extreme where we are saying 240 degrees centigrade तक useful है, तो वहाँ पर भी -80 is also the other extreme, which is not something which is normal. But at the same time, yes, as you rightly said, there are proteins which are freeze proteins जो रहते हैं वो भी हैं, cold proteins भी है. It's not just on one side, it's on the other side also.
Thank you very much, madam, and we would definitely like to work with you and learn from you in the future also.
Sure, my pleasure. As I said, if you want to, if we can write some projects together, I'll be more than happy. Some of these current projects, we do need to do some basic science, and which can, where the academic world can help us out.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, madam. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, madam, for solving the query.
No problem.
As a token of appreciation, I would like to felicitate madam with e-certificate on behalf of Parul University. Okay, so accept it, madam.
Thank you so much. I also got your older one. I think you sent it by mail, so I got that.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Okay, madam. So all the participants will get the e-certificate after filling the feedback form, and I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to all of you who to make the event a success. Yes, thanks to everyone for presenting here. Hereby I am concluding the today's webinar. Thank you, madam. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Brijesh sir, and thank you, Jiten sir.
Yeah, absolute pleasure to be here. And madam, I'll definitely be in touch with you and Vivek sir. If any of this collaborative work has to be done, it will be our pleasure to be collaborating. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Bye. Can I sign off?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.